Me and you.
You're tuned into RX Radio. Movement prescribed. Brought to you by Prescript.com. A personalized approach to keeping you healthy and making your best even better. Your hosts, Dr. Jordan Shallow and Dr. Jordan Ginta.
By popular demand. This is happening. We're recording, by the way. You know what this is turning into? Have you ever seen the movie Good Morning Vietnam?
Yeah.
That's 100%. Me and you are like Robin Williams in Good Morning Vietnam.
Yeah.
Where we're just pissing off our superiors, but all the troops love it.
Yeah, well, I think at the end of the day, I'd rather have the numbers on my side.
Yeah. Well, okay. Because this is like, I guess, volume 2 or just what the podcast is now based off feedback. So this is either like part 2 of a 2-part series, or this is just what we talk about now. So we kind of not outlined, but we're like, all right, let's, before the ratings came in, and by ratings, we mean the positive IG story feedback and the number of you that changed your Instagram handle from coach something to just, what your mother intended you to be on this earth. We were talking about following up on this because we thought the conversation was pretty good. We thought it covered a lot of things that needed to be covered. And I think one of the big things on the list that you sent me of like for the part 2 of this episode, which we're now currently commencing, is candor.
Candor.
I think that's a big one I want to get to. But for those of you just joining us, welcome back. Let's do the intro in the actual episode, so we don't need to record it again like morons.
Yeah.
I don't like that. That is a feature of the podcast world that I don't necessarily like. And it's something that I usually have to do after the fact, and it's really annoying, and Renee hates me for it, and Casey hates me for it, because like, can you please record the intro for X episode? So we know this is going up on Wednesday.
Okay.
So this is coming up, it's Friday now as we're recording it, so it's going up on Wednesday, whatever, the 20th or the 19th.
Yeah.
So this is the intro. So skill acquisition, as we're speaking into the future, is underway.
Yeah, skill acquisition is one lecture down.
Lab portion. When are our labs for skill acquisition?
Tuesday morning, 9 a.m.
So that you will have a lab and a lecture for skill acquisition down already. First cohort in session. New apparel. I'm hoping I speak this into existence. It's Friday. I'm a little bit nervous about making the Monday launch, but though it has been said, that which shall be done.
There you go.
So new Prescript gear. If you're a Prescript coach, if you're a level 1 coach, some of you have been rocking that old black and white, the OG as I like to call it, for a hot minute.
Yeah.
So the new stuff is ready. The branding is actually going to be a whole new, we won't see it on the website yet. It's going to kick off. Actually, the skill acquisition course was the first thing to sort of hit market with the new branding.
Yeah.
I dig it.
That's great.
And so that's going to be coming through in the level 1 manual, which will be out for sale, back sale for all the Prescript coaches, and included into level 1 coaching course in March. So the new branding for the new coaching shirts, that's going to be hidden. So if you're not a level 1 coach, you're not in the inner circle, you don't get to rock that. But everyone who is a part of it, check your email. And if you didn't get an email, shoot me a message and we'll get you the hidden link. So you can get update your Prescript wardrobe with your new coaching gear with the new branding. If you're not a Prescript coach and you're just down for what we do, I'm calling it the element, because you have to call a shirt something now.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. That's how fashion works.
You're talking to a man wearing gas fucking sweatpants that I've been wearing for 4 days.
Yeah.
And my new Versace slippers.
Yeah, the old Versace house slipper.
That's the Killian Hamilton move.
It's the new Prescript hidden link to the Versace house slipper.
Use code Prescript at checkout to get removed from the Versace website. But no, so if you guys are just kind of down for the cause, listen to RX Radio. It has like a new element of our branding in it, which I'm really stoked about, and it's the black on black element shirt.
The old murdered out.
Murdered out. It's the only way to go. It's like your new Beamer, right? You tell me you're closing on that.
You know it. Murdered out.
Are you?
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, the new black on black Prescript shirt is yes. I'm speaking it into existence, although it's Friday and it's nowhere near being ready for the website. By Wednesday, when this podcast releases, it'll be ready. So go grab that. Taglined on the back: mobility, stability, strength. And yeah, I think that's all the bills paying for the first part of the episode. So I might as well just dive right into it. So last episode, for those of you just joining us, we calling it business? What are we doing here?
Bidness.
Bidness. That's, you know what? I think that gives the level of professionalism in which we speak about business.
Yeah.
Bidness.
It's bidness.
Bidness. From two people who have occupied trap houses in the past, I think we are qualified to speak on bidness.
Yes, it is. It was and will always be a bidness podcast. That's kind of your disclaimer.
Dude.
It's the pleather of the business world. Like, it feels the same, but you know the quality's not there.
But it's the realest real you've ever felt, right?
Yeah, it's the good.
It's faux, but it gets the job done.
It's true.
Right? So like the bid, maybe this is like a running segment, like Big Bidness.
Yeah, Big Bidness.
Big Bidness. Not to be confused with our very successful friend Big Business.
Yes.
Marcus Leone.
Right,
the Bear Jew real estate mogul tycoon.
That's an Instagram handle. The Bear Jew.
Dude, I'm pretty sure I've had someone DM me with that handle. Almost 1,000%. I'm going to fact check on that.
Those are DMs I don't open.
Dude, but yeah, he's still better than fucking Coach Bear Jew.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Based off last week's conversation. So moving into this week, we want to follow up on the business side.
Yeah.
Right. Because we got to keep it gangster.
Yes.
I think, and this is the one thing we would talk about. We talk about everything, but like one of the things I like about Prescript is the Prescript coaches, that if you were in an alley somewhere and like you needed people to have your back, and you had like the Channel 7 news team back alley anchorman situation.
Yeah.
It's like, it's as if that scene plays out and there's like, Ben Stiller's like the Hispanic dude.
Yeah.
And then Vince Vaughn is like the number 2.
Yeah.
And then whatever, Ron Burgundy and his crew. And then like there's a PBS guy who gets his arm cut off. That would be like, that scene is playing out in like the applied biomechanics nerd space that has evolved in these camps and factions. And it's as if that scene plays out and we just come in, I don't know, in like a chopped lowrider with an AK and just shoot everyone. Like it just, we just come in like playing some fucking Suwoo trap music shit, and we just spray up the block. Because that's, at the end of the day, that's who I want to hang out with.
Yeah.
Is I want to hang out with people who could just essentially fuck people up.
Yeah, exactly. I think one of my favorite quotes, and I know Dan, I'm not even going to pronounce your last name, Vosbane or whatever it is, we agree on this. It's like research is for those who can't throw hands.
Throw mittens.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, I look at you, and like I know the crazy shit, like going over the counter with a fucking ball peen hammer.
There you go.
Right? Like I know Stu's background. I know the shit I've done. James Thayer's definitely killed people. Mac has 100%.
Well, yeah.
He's John Wick.
Yeah.
Bro, James McIntosh is Von Wick. Like, he puts up these little throwback snippets of him with guns, and it's like, is no one else seeing this?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is going on here? But yeah, like that at the end of the day is what I'm like most proud of. Louis? Me Louis?
Shout out Bombs Bodies.
Yo, Bombs Bodies is now, that's weird because he doesn't live in Astoria anymore, I don't think.
No, he lives, I think it's Upper East Side. Correct me if I'm wrong, Lou, but he's got a great view of the river.
Because he's looking at Brooklyn.
Yeah.
If he's looking at Brooklyn, I'm pretty sure it's Upper East Side, right? But I used to think of I told you I was talking about this the other day. I used to think of the Notorious B.I.G. lyrics about Gloria from Astoria.
Yeah.
So he was always Gloria from Astoria. So now we need some sort of Upper East Side reference.
I don't know. I think he's just Bombs Bodies, man.
Bombs Bodies. He's his
that
own
New York
entity.
City caveman.
Dude, he's like, honestly, I talk to Louis every day. Shouts out Louis. Honestly, if you don't follow Louis, he's like if Joe Pesci was also in fitness and also a carpenter. Or
electrician. He's a Sparky.
Yeah. So it's like, it is the funniest shit I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Because he just, like, when he rants, like, and we love a good rant. And I think a unique quality of the Prescript upper brass, we can call ourselves that, is we can rant with the best of them.
Oh, yeah. And Bombs Bodies comes off the turnbuckle with the rants, man. The tie-dye and the chef's hat. We just got to give him a shout-out, man. Like, he is New York City. He embodies that city 100%. I'll never need to go back. If travel never opens up, I'm just call my boy Lou on the phone. We'll talk for an hour.
Dude, he's the man. Like, cooking in the kitchen.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, with the tie-dye and he's coming in with the slippers. And he's always wearing like a chef's hat.
Yeah, chef's hat.
He looks like he's on MasterChef. Like, like they're going to go down to the pit and Louis just going to be in there flipping eggs on a spatula or some shit like that. But, I don't even know how we got on this. But the Prescript coaches, at the end of the day, research doesn't matter if you can throw hands.
I think like something we touched on, maybe in the last episode where I said, like, if you have a coach in your name, go fuck yourself. But, and I'll reiterate that, because the idea that I want to reiterate what I meant from that is you have an identity. You have an identity outside the 1,000 Coach Joshes on Instagram. And I did this after the podcast. I went coach and I just put a random basic name. And there were thousands. You have an identity that is solely yourself and no one else. Don't generalize yourself. And that's what we're saying.
And I think Louis is a great example of that.
Great example.
Because Louis, there's like bomb bodies. I remember when Louis first reached out, and like I may even have sent you. I was like,
did.
What is this? Who is this guy? But he's Louis.
He is.
He's the only Louis that exists.
Yes.
On the planet, there is no one like him. And he, in my mind, like his moniker of bomb bodies, it's like, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Now that I like got to know him like peripherally through the internet, I feel like I've known Louis my whole life.
Yeah.
And he's that. So it's like he's not like coach bomb bodies, he's just bomb bodies.
Yeah.
And it's like, deal with it.
And and he has an identity, and all of you have a unique identity. And what we respect so much about Prescript is this ability for people to have unique identities outside of some encapsulation of what the fitness world deems your identity to be.
Right. Because like when we talk about fitness stuff, but then we talk about shit that has nothing to do with fitness.
Yeah.
And this is kind of blending into the conversation about candor, which is like this. It is just that. It's the uniqueness of what it is you bring to fitness from your experience outside of fitness. Where like I lead like a pretty insular life in the sense that like very much from start to finish, a lot of what I do is around the podcast and fitness industry, but travel, food, photography, fucking ridiculously expensive dumb slippers that my homie buy. Exactly. Why not? Right? You didn't buy me Metcon 5s. You bought me Versace slippers because it's hilarious.
That's
right?
great.
It's so funny when I walk around my building and everyone's like, what is this Maytag fridge doing with these gaudy red Versace slippers? Exactly. And that's the whole point. Like at the end of the day, it's really about just having a laugh.
Yeah, and I think like something I was talking about yesterday with a few of the people that I mentor, and I think it was like the encapsulation of what we talked about was, and this comes down to candor in a lot of ways too. It's not the content of your content.
No.
It's the character of your content.
Yeah.
And you are that character.
Your character.
Correct.
Right.
And it's you. Like you be you. And that's what people want. Like coming from the in-person world to the online world, it's like you stand shoulder to shoulder with 18 trainers in a commercial gym at 6 p.m. You're all doing the same shit. Like how many of you are doing front foot elevated split squat and counterbalance squat and sitting on the hamstring curl? You all look the same. It comes from who you are in that session for 60 minutes. It's your ability to transcend that person from the hamstring curl to wherever they want to be because they didn't want to be there in the first place.
Yeah, and like it's not, it can't be taught.
No.
Which is like, and it doesn't have to be taught. What we get, what actually gets taught is you get the personality taught out of you. Right? That's the problem, is you don't need to be taught this. You actually have to unlearn this facade of professionalism. And like whoever, basically it comes down to like, were you raised right or did you kind of figure out right and wrong? That's honestly, if you keep reducing with questions back to like the core essence, that's honestly what it comes down to. Because it's like we get drilled. Like I remember at chiropractic college, like they would try and drill these like, and Good Life the same, man. And not throwing any shade. Like if I had to run a company with tens of thousands of trainers and make sure people weren't saying dumb stuff that got me sued, I would write a script. And from Good Life from start to finish was scripted.
100%.
Right? And it's like you get the personality taught out of you. Yeah. Right? And you know, on social media, I think people just inherently fall in line and they get the personality coached out of them or mentored out of them. Right? We were talking before we started about like just the common practices in business coaching around, you know, like just becoming this generic, and you even pulled one up and it was literally this account was literally everything we said. And I don't want to flame him openly, but I kind of want to publicly shame him into just being himself. Yeah. Because we're not shaming him. If we were to call out this guy's account, again, I don't want to do that, but it's like, if we were to do that, I wouldn't feel terrible about doing it because I know what we're calling out isn't him.
And that's the thing. It's like, I know someone told him to do this, and I now know that he is trapped in a system, and that's upsetting to me.
Because it's not sustainable.
It's not.
Right? Like, and I see this, and we've both seen this at like all levels. Like I know guys who make millions of dollars a year, and they're trapped. And once or twice a year, you can bet, and some of you might be able to guess who it is. I'm thinking of one guy in particular where it's like he'll make a few $1 million a year online. He's got a apparel. He's got a cool gym. Everyone kind of knows him. Like people talk about him on like major podcasts and shit. But when you meet him in person, whatever is going on online that quote unquote works does not work in when the lights are off at night or when he looks himself in the mirror. That system is not working well because like you dive a wedge, and I've been on both ends of this, like in having to like appease a certain criteria of what people expect from you. Mm-hmm. I was a doctor, married, had a job at Apple as a chiropractor at 25 years old.
Yeah,
like. I grew up in Windsor. That's a VC slam dunk between the legs windmill of a life. Yeah. And a year later, I had an anxiety attack. I was in the hospital because like I didn't want any of that.
Yeah.
I wore corduroys. I don't even know how to spell corduroys. I wore glasses. I grew my hair. I looked like fucking Ed Norton in American History X 6 months before getting that job. I was like, well, I'm 25 now. I got this fancy title and this wife. Gotta go fucking tuck my shirt in, not like Killian, like tuck my button-up shirt in and go to work at Apple. And it's like, fuck that, man. But people do that. They create that dissonance every day. Mm-hmm. And it becomes a chore. Right? Like if we sit here and just bullshit and just talk about our bullshit, we could do this forever. And we probably will do this forever. Right? Like we're going to be two fucking guys on this, like, I don't know, maybe we start hacking darts when we're older. I can't imagine us sitting on a porch not hacking darts.
I don't know what else you would do.
Right. So when it's all said and done, it's like, if as long as like we just do this because it entertains ourselves.
Yeah.
Right? Like how much bullshit. It's like, okay, we're going to record this and this conversation is going to happen whether or not the mic's on or not.
Correct.
And it usually does. And if we just had like a mic on all day, you guys would kill yourself.
Yeah.
laughing.
ESPN mic'd up the shit that happens here.
The trip to Florida alone would be a Vice series.
Yeah.
But it's just, that's the point. Right. And I think to a broader conversation, I was thinking about this the other day around social media, and it was really sparked by your conversation around like utilizing the story versus post and kind of like this more Bidness principles. But it was like, I think too many people use social media to narrate their life, which is really strange to me. Like, because it's always funny when you see the videos of, I actually saw one the other day, of Morgan Freeman narrating someone's life. But it's like, no. You don't use social media to narrate your life. Like you use it to document your life.
Correct.
And there's a difference. When you look at the difference, it's like, I don't do cool shit for Instagram.
No.
I do cool shit because I like doing cool shit. And I can do cool shit. And like everyone can do something that they think is cool. Right. And like I do stuff that's kind of weird that I put on social media and I don't care. Because I would, the exclusion of that thing would be dissonance. Mm-hmm. Right? That's not who I am. Like I like doing some weird shit, whatever. But it's like too many people just try and like narrate their life on social media. So they do it for the gram. It's like, no, I do it because I just want a good story to tell.
Yeah.
Like there's stuff we did like in Florida that, I don't know, some of our closer friends will know about it. But it's shit that I laugh about every fucking day of my life.
I'll never forget the shit that we did.
And you know what? I don't do it for social media.
No.
Right? Like there's times where like, I don't know, like I'll walk in between these buildings in the morning and like go out to the lake. And I don't think about it till like hours later. That it's like, as I scroll through Instagram and I see someone post this, like I've seen people of taking videos of them meditating lately. It's like, I think you're missing the point.
Exactly.
Because it's like you're not doing it for you. Like do it for you. And your business should be, especially in fitness, you should be doing it for yourself.
Yeah.
Right? And if you're doing it for your potential client, if you're doing it for me and Killian, like the way you do it for me and you to be like, shouts out, is you be like Louis.
Yeah.
You throw up the front double bicep flex as your profile picture. You put a red filter on it because you're fucking bomb bodies. And that's what you do. When I see that, it's like, that's him. And that's what we want. And that's the people we fuck with, is people who are themselves.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's the business. That's the Bidness play.
It is the Bidness play. And that's, I think, like when it comes down to what I respect, if I do scroll through Instagram, it's like, I don't respect people that don't talk to their audience. Because the idea is like you have an audience and you're doing them a disservice. Like they've paid you social capital to follow you, thinking you're going to speak to them. And then you just go ahead and speak to somebody else. It's really weird. It was like bringing a friend to a party and ditching them, and they don't know anybody in the room. That's essentially what happens. You gain a follower because you posted kind of something that they were interested in. And then you immediately went and started speaking to another audience, and you've left this guy out in the cold.
Yeah.
What are you doing? It's like when I know your audience is 20 to 30-year-old women who want a bigger butt and wear Gymshark, and you post stuff about the glute, hands down, that's amazing, man. Like, I'm so impressed by that. If you go and post degrees of shoulder flexion and its comparison to compression and expansion of the rib, I'm like, who cares, bro? Like, no one is paying you for that. I'm not paying you. The people who talk about the rib cage aren't paying you. It's like your followers aren't paying you. Like, your followers have a demographic. It's like, respect what they want to learn. Like, if I went and posted how to get big biceps, my followers don't want to know how to get big biceps because they didn't follow me for biceps. I obviously don't have any.
Yeah, it's like you're using them to pad your stats.
Yeah.
Right? It's like the old bait and switch. It's like, no, like, and at the end of the day, like, obviously there has to be the structure around your business to be able to, like, to continue doing it, and that can't be negated. But like it makes it so much easier to make business decisions. I'm just going to purposely weed the word business into every sentence from now on. But it's like there are things that, like, decisions I have to make around the business and or business that are so easy to make because the business is a complete expression of my values and who I am. There is no dissonance.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there is no, like, prescript in me. I, like, if I spit, it's coming out of prescript's mouth. Like, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
So when an investor comes like, hey, I want to get this much for this much. And it's like, all I need to think is, would I want that? No. All right. Then the business says no. Right. Like, or like coming down to posting stuff and doing things, or like making decisions. Like, we're having coaches help us out because they can't train because the government's put them in the room. It's like, all right, like, I want our coaches to write some stuff and put it all together and we can pay them and all that. And it's like, I just thought of that. So now the business can do it. That's how you should look at your business.
Yeah.
Not like, oh, I want to do this, but you know, it's time for a tile post quote today.
Yeah.
And it's got the red text on the white background, and that's my third post. And so it's got to keep, it's like, fuck, dude, why are you putting so many constraints on your life? Right?
Yeah.
Why are you putting so much constraint on your business? Like, the one thing I value above all else, and it's like come up like a handful of times in the last like 5 years at like pretty pivotal points with conversations with you, like some people like I talk to, like therapists, everything, is the one thing I value more than anything else is freedom.
100%.
This is it. That's like just, and there are things that we all have to succumb to when it comes to constraints. Like, I have to pay my taxes.
100%.
That's not as free as I'd like to be, and I don't know how it's getting done, but Renee, we got to find someone to figure out how to do it, because I'm pretty sure it's not getting done. But it's like, outside of that, like, call your mother, like, maybe, and that shouldn't really be a constraint, but it's, why are you employing constraints on you? Like, why are you giving these constraints power over you? It's like, do you have the ability to go, I don't want to post a tile today. I don't want to, how's this? I don't want to post at all.
Yeah.
You went off the grid, was like, hey, I'm fucking going to spend time with my parents. I'm not checking anything. Fuck y'all, not really, but kind of. I'll see you guys next week.
Yeah.
And it's like, that can be, you know why that's the best business play? Because it's sustainable, right? And it's like, well, the second you start doing shit that drives a wedge between like your values, like your guiding principles and your business and your business, you don't have a business anymore.
Correct.
You have a business.
Yeah.
And that's a problem, because it should always be the big business play.
Always the big business play. But I think it's so true, right? And I think part of like being authentic to yourself is obviously like you just build a business that you never resent, because it's constantly exactly what you want with it. And most of you who probably listen to this podcast or got into fitness got into it with this idea of being able to potentially be, you know, free in the sense of time, free in the sense of like finance, be financially free. And the idea that you immediately adopt this very corporate like constraint to your business is essentially what was taken from you when you worked for someone else in the first place. And when I decided to no longer work at a corporate gym, the play was not to make even any more money. It was to essentially just do whatever I wanted to do and build a business around the lifestyle I wanted to have. And I'm not saying don't work all day and just sit around. I'm saying understand what it is that you lacked in a structured, safe environment, and understand what you wanted from it. And that is essentially candor, right? Is the facts versus the stories. Like, are you entering into the digital space to be a creator or an influencer? And that is a completely different pathway that I can't speak to, that operates differently. Or are you entering to build freedom through a business of your own? And having that conversation with yourself will develop the path and scale of how you approach the business.
I think the hard part with that is having the true enough conversation with yourself to figure out what it is that kept you in the constrained environment for so long. It's like, why do you need someone else to tell you what to do, right? And I noticed this, like, I hated every boss I ever had, and not on a personal level. Like Brooke Ukrainic was my boss at Good Life, and when I was a teenager, I fucking hated her. Like, she's the nicest person, and she did probably more for me from like a development standpoint than maybe any boss I ever had. So if she ever hears this, shout out Brooke Ukrainic. She's no longer with the company. She's awesome. And then, like, you know, I had a boss, Dan Lattiser. He was my first boss, and he was like, Dan was going through some shit when I was working with him, and I never knew how bad it was until I was older. And I liked Dan a lot, but like, Dan wasn't necessarily a good boss because I could just let me do whatever the fuck I want. I was 16 years old. I showed up for my job interview wearing a Pink Floyd t-shirt and hair down to my shoulders. Like, I would never have hired me, but he took a shot. But it's like, okay, there's the reason I didn't like most of my bosses is because they had the hardest job in the world, and that was to get me to work. And I didn't realize that until I started working for myself. Because like, I tell myself stories all the time. I make excuses and I make compromises with myself that I need to keep in check. In the same way a boss had to keep me in check at 16, I at 30 need to set an alarm. Like, I need to, and yes, I'm free, I can do whatever I want, but I want to continue to do whatever I want. So I make a transaction in the present for my future freedom every single day.
100%.
Right? Like, I go in and I punch the clock, and I'll do it, and I know you're the same. And we'll do it at times where no one else will do it because no one else is willing to make that transaction. Right? They're not willing to pay interest on future freedom. Right? And that bill's got to be squared up. Right. Yeah. So I think when I look back at all the bosses, and like, I don't deal well with authority, period, but I have so much respect for everyone who's ever been in a position to have to get me to do something, because now I'm the one in that position that has to get me to do something. Right. So I need to personally incentivize myself in similar ways that bosses in the past have gotten me to do things. It's like, look, if I can get this done, take off a half hour early. All right, like, go to the club. You leave by 9:30. You'll be at Outlet by 10 o'clock. It's like, all right, thanks, appreciate you. Right? Like, I need to incentivize that myself. So now I look back, it's like, man, like, I'm a much more mature, one would argue, adult at 30 than I was at 16. And this person had a job of making me, like, incentivizing me or coercing me to do it. Because it wasn't like, when I worked, I was like, oh, whatever, $15 an hour, $10 an hour. I don't know what I got paid when I first started working. And like, even now, like, with, like, not to get too deep into it, but like, with the the revenue we generate, I don't care. It's about phrase, right? Like, that laugh says it all. Like, I don't give a shit. Like, at any given point, like, I don't know. I mean, not that I don't know, but it's like, if there's like a podcast I don't want to do, but I know that it'll have reach and it'll get the message across, it's like, that's a transaction I'm making with future freedom. Right? That's a transaction I'm making in the present, and it's interest owing on future freedom. So it's like, I do it.
Yeah,
it's a fucking, like, hey man, you do this, and then fucking me and Killian go train or go do something. Like, I need to incentivize that for myself.
It's really true, right? And it's something that probably took me 4 or 5 months to really, like, you know, get through my own head. Because like you said, like, I think we both live relatively sparse lives in some extent. And like, my rent was paid. I could pay for groceries. And like, outside of that, like, I didn't really do much. Like, sit outside. It was the nice weather out. But what created a difference for me was I got a day planner. I bought a day planner and I wrote out what I actually did in a day. And you have
that day planner for the rest of your life if you kept going the way you were.
Yeah, seriously, Jesus Christ. But I got this day planner and I wrote out what took up my day. And when I looked at it, I would be embarrassed to show my parents what I did in the course of a week, knowing how hard my mom and dad worked. If I showed them what I was able to afford and do, and I showed them how many hours a day I worked, it wasn't the money that I had. It was the fact that I didn't do dick all day. Yeah. And my incentive for myself was making a Calendly and being like, now my schedule's out there. Like, I'm going to put in the schedule I would feel comfortable with everyone knowing that I work, and I'm going to fill it up. It's like, I worked construction, worked 12, 16-hour days. I worked at a commercial gym, 12, 16-hour days, actually working. And then I got to this point where I'm in essentially a more scalable medium, and I thought it was okay to do a quarter of the work. And to me, it wasn't. Like, I wouldn't publicly feel confident in people knowing the level of work I did. So I decided to scale my business to fill out a schedule that I can respect. And now there's not a day during the week where I don't work at least 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. face to camera, face to face with clientele. So my incentive to me was like, am I publicly proud of people knowing the effort that I put into this business? Effort can be graded differently, but I've only ever been graded on my effort based on hours worked. So my thing was like, the candor to myself was like, is this good enough? Is like doing 20 hours a week good enough?
And that's the thing. That's how your values are superimposing on your business, right? That's not a story you're telling yourself. Because it's like, because the rest of the world equates the time for money thing. And there's a respect that comes with that, right? Like I remember, I forget how old I was, and I saw my old man's W-2. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, which is weird because like we grew up poor. Like, not like poor, like dirt or anything like that. But like, you know, like we have similar upbringings. But it's like because of my dad, like I played travel hockey. And I was like, but I couldn't figure out why we had to drive around in a Pontiac 5000. That never started. Right? Like, why was it? Because like, oh yeah, because we played travel hockey. Because I played travel hockey, and my sister did competitive swimming. It's like why my dad had to drive home from a hockey game in Harrow with his head out the window because the windshield wipers on our fucking 92 Chevy Lumina weren't working, and it was raining fucking sideways. Like I could never figure it out. And I was like, oh well, shit, yeah, like dad like makes this much. And every single day I remember this is I could only stay up late. And I could only stay up past when my mom went to bed. My mom goes to bed pretty early. If I stayed up and watched a movie with my dad, like don't go on the computer, you're gonna get fucking stolen or some shit. Like you had to sit down and like you just sit with dad and dad watch the movie. And my dad is like the most soft spoken, like he's just a newfie, like he's just stopping to smell the roses. He's like the nicest dude in the world. The only time my dad's ever been aggressive was when I was in high school. Not aggressive or anything, but like had any like mean bone in his body. And I talked to my dad the other day about this, and he was like. I was in high school and I started like workout or whatever, and he's like, if anyone, he like grabbed me up one day, and he never does this, and he took me off the side, and anyone lays a hand on your sister, you fucking kill him. And like my dad, if anyone knows Mike Shallow, it's like holy shit. But like if anyone knows my dad in his interaction with my sister, like daddy's girl could not be more of like a sentiment in the way Mike and Heidi interact. And that's the only time like I've ever seen my dad like that. It was like, if anyone lays a fucking hand on your sister, you kill him. I was like, oh shit, yes sir. But what my dad used to do when we watched movies, he'd put up like Lethal Weapon or Die Hard or whatever, every Schwarzenegger Rocky movie under the sun. And that's why I am the way I am. But what I mean by that is it's not because I watched Rocky and Rambo and Die Hard. What I was watching was a guy on the couch after waking up at 5 to get his fucking daughter to some goddamn swimming practice, and then taking his lunch break to go over and have lunch with his wife, and then come back and go fucking back in the office and go to a job site, come back and then kind of get dinner and then drop me off at some godforsaken some hockey rink somewhere, and then I sit down and he'd be on the couch. And what I thought I was watching and what I thought I was becoming was like, you know, I fucking started taking protein powder and then some at 20, and I was like, yeah, Schwarzenegger and all that. But as I got older, it was like, and I got bigger and all that, and then I was just like, oh, like what do I actually want to become? It's like I want to become the dude on the couch. Yeah. I want to become the fucking guy on the couch that's been working his bag off for 25 years so I could do all that shit. Not the guys on the screen. Yeah, whatever. Like Schwarzenegger's cool, Stallone's cool. Like Mike Shallow's the GOAT. Yeah. He's been putting it in. He's been punching the clock for 30 years, right? So it's like when we talk about work and like, again, that's just an extension of our values. Like I'll get up and I'll burn the keyboard because do you talk to your parents about money? Like, do you talk about your parents about your business?
Sometimes.
It's weird though,
it's
right?
The worst. I hate the conversation.
It is because it's like my parents, and I'm sure yours are the same. There's a confused pride.
Yeah.
Because my sister's a physician, right? Like ER doctor. Her husband Tom is like, he's off the charts smart. Project engineer for this big mining company in Australia. They have a little Pip is almost 1 year, like view of the ocean, crushing it. So my parents can have a conversation with their friends and go, how's Heidi doing? Well, you know, Tom's a project engineer for this big mining company. He's like really on his way up. Heidi's in the hospital. She's, you know, doing the specialization in whatever. Pip is a year. How's Jordan doing? Yeah. They don't really know. And like I have to have conversations with them and be like, look, like, I'm going to make it. Like, you don't understand what I do, but like, I'll talk to my sister. I was talking to Heidi last week and we got on the topic of money, and like, she understands our world a little bit. She's of our generation a little bit more so. And I'm like, yeah, we're sweet. But like my parents worry about me, and it's hard because I run into that thing with you. It's like, that's the ideal that I'm trying to live up to, was the guy crushing it. My mom the same. Like I was lucky enough to have like a dual income family, and both my parents worked there their hands to the bone every single fucking day. And I can kind of sit here and be like, hey, I'm going to Miami on Saturday.
Yeah.
And they don't get it. And it's hard. But I want to work enough that they get it.
Yeah.
I want to work enough that, like, I remember yesterday, I was talking to someone last night. I passed out on the couch at 6 p.m. Like, for 10 minutes or so, I was like, I had my computer up and I was streaming we're working on the barbell manual now. So I was using my TV as like just a large computer monitor. And I just passed out. And the joke was always with my dad that he would have the remote in his hand, and as he was watching how it was made, my dad has no idea how anything's ever been made because he starts it and he just fucking falls asleep. But he holds the remote until he falls asleep, and then the remote falls, and then it wakes him up. And that was and he'd pick it up, and then he'd fucking like, oh shit, yeah, they're making paint cans. And he'd tell me about the history of paint cans for 4 seconds, and he'd fucking just nod off again. He'd go on and hold on to the remote, and it would fall. So tell me about the paint cans. And I'm just like, fuck, Mike, shut her down. So like, I want to work. So when 6 p.m. comes along, I'm fucking smoked. Because that's how I was raised. That's what work was. Yeah. That it's like, if we can do it online and like whatever, be cool. Because that's what our parents wanted.
Yeah.
Right? Our parents wanted us to be in a better situation than them.
Honestly. And that's all, like, it's funny, like, when we talk about this, and like this podcast has obviously gone so many different directions already, but like, when I think about what my parents wanted for me, like, dude, I hated school. So everybody knows in this podcast probably, like, I don't have really much education, but my parents knew I hated school, but they knew, like, I was kind of smart, like I could get it. Yeah. But like you had said, no one could incentivize me to do anything at school ever. They couldn't incentivize me to learn math. The first time I learned how to do math is when I graduated high school, and my parents were like, you need your own money now. Well, I need my own money throughout high school, but it's like, when I finally had to like go buy a car and get like a real job, and then I was like, oh, you put a dollar sign in front, I could always figure it out. If it was money, I got it. Yeah. Compound interest, divide, subtract, no problem if it was money. And I realized, like, man, in high school, if somebody had ever just made it money, like, that was what was so prevalent to me growing up, was a lack of money. Yeah. So when I conceptualized math as a means of having more, I was like, oh, okay, I got math. Math makes sense. Then I went to school to be a carpenter. I went like, oh, math makes a lot of sense. This is how you make a box. Make the best damn box you ever seen. As many boxes as you want. I got boxes down. That's a cube. Got it. 6 sides, no problem. And it's like, I just think about like what my parents wanted for me. They never cared what I did. And this is something I talk about with some people that are close to me. My parents never cared what it was I did. But if I wasn't the best at it, there was a problem. They didn't care if I didn't like school. Because it's like, well, what do you like? It's like, oh, I like playing the drums. My dad was like, well, you better be the best damn drummer I've ever heard. He was like, oh, you like playing rugby? You better be the best rugby player. We'll drive anywhere in Ontario, but you better be the best. It's like, oh, you want to do powerlifting? Well, you better be the best. Where did I have to go? Somehow I had to go to Westside. I'm like 20 years old. My dad's like, you want to do powerlifting? Well, get in the fucking car. And I wake up and we're at Westside Barbell. And he's like, well, go. You got 48 hours. Prove yourself. I was like, what are we doing here?
Such a crazy story.
It's the weirdest thing.
We got to do a whole podcast just on that.
That story is
going to spark so much interest. But I think, the underlying sentiment there is
it's just like my parents were like, well, you got to fucking be the best. And I think now, like, my parents don't necessarily have a concept of the monetization of this industry or how it works or literally how I get paid. My dad knows I exist on the internet, and he doesn't have an Instagram, so he doesn't know how to get on there. But he has friends that have Instagram, and they'll just send him screenshots of the page. And he's like, you were with this really big guy in this picture. I'm like, it's Jordan, Dad. And he's like, no, this guy's really big. I'm like, it's still Jordan. It's the same Jordan from 6 months ago. He's like, oh, that's Jordan. I got to meet that guy. And it's like, they just want me to be the best. So when they talk to people, they don't ever equate it to money. It's just like where I exist in a platform that I exist in. Yeah. It's like, they're like, oh, Killian knows this guy. And we were at Leon's buying a couch, and this guy knows this guy.
Dude, that's always the story.
He knows you. And like, my dad bought a couch off some guy, and his cousin, some bodybuilder, and he's like, oh, I know Killian, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, my dad equates my success solely to where I exist within being the best at something. And that's when it came to looking at my schedule. I'm like, I'm not the best at this.
Well, you know what? It's funny. Parents do things in a way. Like, you figure out at it. I was listening to I like Matthew McConaughey. He's come out with some stuff. So he did a podcast with Jordan Peterson. It's like, Jordan Peterson as an interviewer is just kind of annoying. Like, I like some of his stuff, and I know some people who follow us follow him. But like, one of the takeaways of the interview is like, there's a point. Did you read his book Green Lights?
No, not yet.
So there's a point where he talks about his dad, and like, he realizes after his dad passes that his dad was human, right? That it's like, because your parents try and like become this like omnipotent, omnipresent sort of being, and like, because they want you to be better, right? Even if it's just marginally better than them. And if like they're already pretty good, it's going to be like hard to do that. But like, it's funny now to like be a bit older. Like, I'm friends with my dad, right? So it's like to hear him like kind of talk in a way that he wouldn't talk to me when I was a kid. It's like, oh, like you're a real person. Like you were this kind of this entity before, but like you're a real person, and that like humanization of it makes it a little bit easier for me to like actually be able to have these conversations. Because yeah, they don't get it, right?
No.
They get it when like they installed new kitchen floors and like oh, I follow your son on Instagram. My dad's 17 Instagram accounts. He has no fucking idea how to use Instagram. But what he tried to instill and tried to just, because my dad worked hard, like harder than anyone I know. Even as I know him now as like a person and not this like, as your parent, as like a friend, he's still like one of the hardest working dudes I know. And the essence of your parents wanting you to be the best was basically them telling, and this is the way I've interpreted because my parents were very similar, is like, we want you to try your hardest.
Yeah.
Right. But you don't know what that is. So you like scale it to like, all right, well, this person's better than me. So the only way I know to get to there is to try harder.
Yeah.
Right. You can become more strategic as you get older. And that's really what you want. They just want, all my dad wanted was like, all right, there's the couch, 6 p.m., wake up at 5, go. And that was it. And it's like, and I see, and this is where like comfort and complacency comes into the business world. And that's where like we talked about last episode of like, look, the distance between the barrier of entry or the entrance to the top is not that high.
It's not.
All it really takes is a willingness to be like, all right, can I work now in this industry where I don't have to work as hard to get as much? But what if you did?
Yeah.
What if you did really like, look, me and you, like from, you know, a business acumen skill set, like we kind of know, we know the hood shit. Like we know the gangster shit. Like, you know, if you talk to someone like I knew how to do math in the ounces and grams, and I knew how to do math in 45-pound increments. Like that was my math.
Yeah.
Like 2 plates, 2 1/4. I knew all the way up to like, I don't know, 455 when I was 17. Like ounce, gram, soon came a point, milligram, IU. Like that's how I learned to do math. I didn't learn how to like, I don't know, I still don't know how to do my taxes. But
Not
it's like if you put it in things that are tangible, it's like at the end of the day, it's like you just gotta. I feel like people use optimization and efficiency, and it dulls them. It dulls them into this confined space. It's like, look, sometimes you got to do things the wrong way just to prove to yourself that you can do things that are hard.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and that's what and I've talked about this before. It's like, show me a man at the end of a set, and I'll tell you what kind of man he is. Right. Like if you're willing to just, I don't know, you would randomly squat like 315 for as many as you can. And it's like, all right, well, Killian needs to go find God or scratch whatever itch that is. And sometimes that's what you have to do in your business.
Yeah.
You just need to go, there's something on the other side of that wall. I have nothing to get through it other than the dome of my own skull. So I'm going to smash my fucking head against this wall until I get into the other side. And some people will just not do it.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just like that. I don't know what that is, where you find the incentive for that. But that's the Bidness play.
It is. And I think it's like, it comes down to a lot of people that I talk to. It's like a lot of what we talk to in the digital space are daily best practices. Like these items may not have direct consequence in terms of like an allotted time. But I always say to people, this is something I learned like when I did in-person personal training that I brought to the digital space, was looking at my business in 21-day increments. It's like I have a daily best practice, and over 21 days, I can judge my business. But people look at like, I posted a photo yesterday, only 2 people shared it. I posted a Q&A, only 2 people responded. But it's like, I'll be quite honest with you. I posted a call to action at the beginning of January, 1 person responded. Look, I've been on a high. This business has scaled beyond what I could possibly imagine. I'm like, January, big month. Everyone's going to go in, throw up a call to action. Boom, 1 response. Yeah, I can see the tumbleweed in the distance, man, like the mirage on the horizon. And I went, all right, well, fuck it. This is it. This is the down. You know what I mean? I'm at the top of the roller coaster. And then 2 days ago, my business blew up. I gained like 7 clients. And I was like, oh, wait, it was 21 days later. Funny. If I look at my business in sets of 21 days, there are direct actions and practices that I do daily that are cumulative in their result. And it's not this matter of fact of I did this and I only got this. And the minute you look at things in isolation, you start to lose the picture. You start posting the tile on Tuesday. You start posting the throwback on Friday, and you look at it too much in isolation from the fact of like, if you just did the damn thing, man, if you just put your head down and for 21 days just did a thing every day, and you were visible and you were active and you were respondent and you were engaged in your own practice of being you, people may buy into that if you just don't go away.
Yeah. Cool. It says something too about the service that you will inevitably provide. There's a subliminal message that goes along with that of like, look, so when we were in Florida, we were talking to a friend of ours who's a coach. And I remember being so distraught in a conversation I had with him, and I went to you like immediately after. And maybe distraught sounds right. I don't give a fuck. It's your business. It's your life. But it bothered me because this was out there. And the guy said, man, like, he started his own coaching business, and he's got a fair bit of notoriety and all that. And he said to me, he was like, man, the other day, like, it's so good. I just didn't do any of my check-ins. Like, I just wasn't feeling it. I was like, and it was like a brag. Like, and it took me 20 minutes to figure out that it was a brag. I'm like, why is he telling me this?
Yeah.
It's like, dude, like, again, it's the transaction for future freedom. It's the interest paid on future freedom. Like that bill is going to come one day, right? All 50 of those clients will remember the time you didn't check in, right? And that's like, and more to that, at the end of the day, man, I think you'll remember the time you didn't check in.
And that's true. And
like don't do it for other people sometimes.
Yeah.
Like Kyle, and then we were talking about Kyle before the podcast. It's like, my buddy Kyle's like, look, like, when it comes to like morals and ethics, let it be a selfish endeavor. Because when you start to like lie to like other people thinking you get away with it, that affects you. Like, you don't feel, but over time it compounds and you actually start to feel it. So like, if I see someone, whether I don't recognize it or not, who's like sticking to their daily best practices, that registers in my mind. It's like, look, there's a diligence, there's a responsibility, there's a respect to what this guy does. He's not just here for like, a flash in the pan income. This is a career move, right? And that subliminally registers. And when I go to procure services in an industry, I already have this engraved in my mind that, look, this guy is doing this every single day. And he's not going to brag about not checking in with me. He's going to make sure that when you get to the hotel room in Fort Lauderdale at 1:30 in the fucking morning, that you're going to spend the rest of the night checking in and making sure that that's the character, that's the content of the character, right?
Yeah, and it's not to say that you won't make mistakes, and depending on how much your business scales, like everyone makes mistakes.
Right.
Just remember that, and like you'll make mistakes because you're doing it. The guy who's not making mistakes isn't doing anything in order to make a mistake. So it's just like when you make a mistake, just be aware of it and apologize to people and be candid and have candor with yourself. Know what you did, and just be like, hey, this is literally exactly what happened. Like, I remember I always had a rule, like when I managed a gym, I was a fitness manager, and I told trainers, if you're not going to come, don't give me an excuse. Just literally say, I'm not coming in. Because the blah, 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 I'm not coming in, it never mattered anyways because you're not here. And that's what I learned in construction. You just never, when I worked as a carpenter, if you couldn't come, never tell them why. Because it sows the seed of why you didn't come.
Right.
Just be like, I'm not making it. Because all they care is there's a body or there's no body.
Right.
And it's just like just being open with that side of things too, and having that candor with yourself. Like, don't brag that you did something wrong, but at the end of the day, like, dude, sit with it.
Yeah.
And it's like, why didn't you do it? And I kind of had this discussion with a guy that I mentor, where he was like, man, you gave me these 3 things to do, and it took me forever on Sunday because I was playing Xbox, and I just didn't want to make a link tree. And I was like, that's cool, man. It's totally okay. But at the end of the day, it's like, you got to sit there and you got to go, I charge people $100 an hour, and I played Xbox for 4 hours. It's like, are you willing to give people $400? You're going to pay me $400 because you sat on Xbox? It's like, that's effectively what you did. Like, sit with that. Like, that's the decision you owed. And like, if you didn't check in with 50 clients, it's like, dude, maybe you paid 10 G's because you just didn't feel it that day.
Yeah. And it's always the people who don't value their own time who don't value others. Right. And that's what that tells me. Right. Like, I'm always trying to help as much as I can. Like, I think service is like why we're all here. But there's a certain point. I literally, dude, hand to fucking God, man. So I put up a post about some bullshit today. I don't know. I was mad. My microphone's not working, so I can't do my stories the way I like to. Like, me and you are like the front-facing stories kind of people. And I literally got the message right here. And so we were talking about the hook lying position.
Ugh.
And this guy goes, can you send a video of hook lying position? So it's like, and look, and my reaction was the facial expression you just gave me. But it's like, I remember that, like, I'm in a position where people are interested in what I have to say for whatever reason. I understand it's a part of my business. I value my time, and I try and value others. So I Google searched it for him, screenshotted it, and said, quick Google search will do the trick. And I sent him the screenshot, and I'm going to show you this. And then it's like, there you go. And I said, thank you, brother. I honestly thought you were speaking about something else. I'm glad that clarified. He goes, sorry, I'm a fucktard. I know you're busy. It's like, you don't. Because if you know you're busy, you would Google search it yourself. And I said, all good. Happy to Google search things for you. And it's just like, again, like it's just value your time.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you know how to value yours, you will value others. And the respect and these best practices and this compounding interest of these best practices over time is you honestly can't, because we make mistakes. Fuck, we make more mistakes than anyone I know. Is all we do is fuck up. That's all we do is fuck up. We get everything wrong. But it's like we do it from a place of values and respect and like with good intentions. And so like whatever the outcome is with those leading the ship of your business, you will end up exactly where you need to be, right? It's when you start to make the compromises, right? You make a compromise in your values, and it's like the business coach tells you to put up you need to put an emoji on either side, like a firework on either side of your little explanation to get them excited. And you're like, yeah, that's kind of fucking lame. That's really lame. But you compromise, like, dude, don't do it. Don't take one fucking step off that line. We and you were just in an elevator.
Yeah.
It was an elevator 5 people. And I even said, like, no mask. And I was like, yo, is it cool if we come up? And they're like, hey, they're construction workers. They know me. And the guy was joking. He was like, you guys aren't wearing a mask. And I just looked him dead set in the eyes, like, yeah, medical exemption. I have this conversation all the time. And I just sat there, no worries. Like, I will not fucking take a step off this line. This is where I die with my feet on the fucking ground, right here. I'm not bending over for nothing. No, I don't care if you take everything away from me. I'll still have my boots right fucking here. And I see people just lying over dead. I see people, because you make one compromise, you yourself are compromised.
Yeah.
And that is the weakest position to be in. I like just die on your feet, die on your sword, have your values. That's honestly like, and we talked about earlier, like the Anchorman scene of the fight and the Prescript crew. Every single one of the people that we work with, so me, you, Junta, Stu, the Jameses, Mac and Thayer, values.
Yeah.
Those guys. Mac, I had to tell Renee to send Mac a blank invoice so he would actually get himself paid, because he would just like, he's down with the cause, he's whatever, he's a homie, and he showed me the weapons. If we ever need to kill someone, he's the guy. It's like I'd imagined. So this is how this plays out in my mind. We talked about this the other day.
Yeah.
Thayer, getaway car driver,
Easily.
Junta is like the Asian guy in Ocean's 11. Right, he's the guy. Right. He's the inside man, right? You know what you are? Fuck. Have you ever seen Baby Driver?
Yeah.
You're Jamie Foxx.
Oh my God. Why am I Jamie Foxx?
Of course you're Jamie Foxx. Who else would you be?
God.
If you're the criminal, you're Jeremy Renner in the town. That's
Easily.
You.
Yeah.
That's you. So you're Jeremy Renner, Jamie Foxx. All right. So Thayer's the getaway car driver. Thayer's Baby Driver.
Yeah.
That's Thayer for sure.
For sure.
Like quiet, very methodical, thought out. But when like no one's looking, he's dancing with the windshield wiper. Macintosh. Oh geez, he's any Jason Statham character.
Literally.
He's any and every Jason Statham character. Junta. Who's Junta?
You just said he was the guy in the little bank vault.
Okay, but what would Junta? Who else would Junta be?
Junta's any guy in any heist movie who like fucks with the electronics.
You think? Dude, Junta's terrible with technology. No, Junta's bad with technology.
I don't know. Who else is he going to be?
He can't be technology. Dude, we were recording podcasts over Zoom. He didn't have his mic plugged in for 6 months.
Junta's the guy who flies off the handle immediately.
What do you mean?
He's the guy like, he's bleaching phones and then he's just gun butting people for no reason.
But that's Jeremy Renner. That's you.
We're both the same guy.
Oh, man, maybe. I don't know. Right, then what am I? Oh, God.
You're the most charismatic one of the whole team.
Charismatic? All right,
Yeah.
Give me a villain. Give me a.
You're
give me a
Ben
back.
Affleck in The Town.
Really?
Yeah, because you're the guy, whether you like it or not, I think,
Oh, fuck.
who can have the empathetic side.
Okay. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Fuck you.
Like
Yeah,
you can
no, I get
you
it.
can go in the middle of the night and beat some guy up, but you're probably also pretty empathetic. I'm not that.
No,
I'm
you're
very
the-
much Jeremy Renner.
Well, it's funny because we've had the conversation in the group chat with the coaches about like, it's basically the conversation of like, look, we're gonna hurt some people.
Yeah.
You can never ask me about it later. Can't tell you about it now. And you're the guy that goes, whose car are we taking?
Yeah.
That's the whole crew. But it's values. It just comes down to values.
And it's like looking at prescripts, it's like it's values and it's trust in others that they have the same values.
Right.
It's like I can come on this podcast and say, unfortunately, anything I think of. I can go into any prescript lab and fly off the handle. But it's because I feel that I can trust everyone has the same values. And I'm like, you know where I'm coming from. I know where you're at. I can speak how I speak. And like you said about dying on your feet, like, man, I've made tons of choices for good or bad in the corporate business sense because I'm unwilling to not die on my feet.
Right.
I'm just like, oh, this is what it is. This is exactly how I feel. I've had many opportunities taken away from me where some guy goes, just say sorry. And I'm like, how about I say fuck you?
Dude, I remember when I worked at a hardware store, there was a switch of managers. So Dan, my first boss, obviously didn't get me to do anything. The company failed. Not because of me, but it's just, then the new owners came in. It was a family. They owned a bunch. I think they owned a few. Yeah, they owned a few home hardwares. And they didn't like me because why would anyone like me? I was an idiot. Like even now, why would anyone like me? And I remember I walked home shirtless because they called me in for an evaluation. Dan didn't do evaluations. We hacked darts covered in motor oil. I listened to him complain about his ex-wife while he lit bees on fire when we were fixing lawnmowers. Like he didn't give a fuck about performance reviews. And like I knew they were like watching, like they were kind of assimilating into the business as they were taking it over, and they were watching me. And like, I don't know, when a customer was like, how's your day? I was like, homework, like fucking sucks. And they're like, no, like you want to be very like scripted and be like, oh, my day is very good, sir. How was your day? I was like, nah, that sounds dumb. So they're like, oh, we're having performance reviews on Tuesday. And I walked in, and it's like, it's funny because it's happened twice in my life that I've said this to grown men, and it's been the most liberating thing in the world. And it's so I walked into the office, and it was Dave and Dave, his father and son, and they were both standing up, and they had a chair, and they said, sit down. I'm like, how about you sit down? And then I'm like, look, this isn't going to go well. So I took my home hardware shirt off. I threw it at Papa Dave, and I just walked home. I walked home a block and a half with no shirt on. And I tell you what, it was like the most liberating fucking green mile ever. Because like I just killed any chance of compromise ever. That got executed right there and then at 16 years old. And I did it. Oh, I'll save the other one for another time. But like that idea of like it was the easiest decision in the world. And any opportunity that could have been lost there or elsewhere, man, like, you know, I'm sure there are things that people don't reach out to us for, and there are opportunities that we lose because of the way we speak.
100%.
But I don't care because I wouldn't want to have to maintain, or I couldn't sustain what it would have to be the person that would benefit from that opportunity. And like, I think in the core essence, because we talk about this with our labs all the time, it's because we share values, and it's like, you have to know where it's coming from. Like when we go off the handle and we start to talk about, we always rein it in and give context, and we give deference, and we give the devil its due. And it's like, if you know that it's coming from like, it's like the comedy thing, right? Like you don't get to decide my intent.
Yeah.
Right. Like I'll give the shirt off my back to anyone who asks for it. Like, and people who don't, I'll fucking give them more. Right. So you don't get to decide based off the shit I say, what I meant by what I said. Mm-hmm. Right. So it's like, it's always and that's something that the second you compromise, then you leave yourself open to interpretation. That's where it's like, well, I don't know when you say this, what you mean, because you compromised in the past. So I think people need to protect that core essence because it allows you to be free. Yeah. Right? Like if you can actually like go in and do your daily best practice, right? And you can see this accumulate over time. And if stuff doesn't work, you don't take the easy road and like, well, I'm going to do like the post of the quote and the tile, and then the next one's going to be a tutorial video, and the next one's going to be a motivational, and we're just going to cycle through. If you don't make that compromise ever, and you stick to the fucking plan, you stick to your values, and you don't then you have the freedom to do, frankly, whatever you want, because it's coming from an uncompromised state of good intentions. And that's and as far as business goes, like, no, again, Bidness. When it comes to Bidness, because we're talking business here, not many people want to talk about business.
It's true,
right? Because that's really the core essence of it. Like if you're going to run like a good business, that's what you need to be able to do.
And I think like people don't want to talk about Bidness. They talk about business, right? Because business is books, right? Like business is research papers, but Bidness is doing it. Yeah. And having done it, you probably failed. Having done it, you probably made a mistake. Having done it, it probably hurt or was hard. But at the end, you just live with it.
Right.
What's that fucking stoic thing? You got to sit with it. It's like, dude, I got to sit with being super successful every day. It's pretty fucking good. But it's like, at the end of the day, I sit with being successful because I did it. Yeah. I didn't wait for a book to tell me I could.
And when stuff goes wrong,
You're the one holding the bag, dude.
And that dude, when did you say that to me first?
Oh, fuck.
Left holding the bag.
Yeah, I don't
That's
even
one
know.
of my favorites because it's how like it is the gangster thing of like it's the bank vault robbery.
Yeah.
Like who do you want next to you in the bank vault? Like if you got the dead skull Skeletor mask on and the fucking AR with the nub stock at the shoulder, it's like who do you want around you? Because I tell you what, you put out your core values, that's exactly who you're gonna have with you.
100%.
You're gonna have Junta in the bank vault cart. You're gonna have Thayer behind the wheel of the Impreza, right? You're just gonna be gun stock smoking guys in the jaw. I'm gonna be wondering like, why the fuck are we kidnapping this chick, right? And we're gonna have James Mack out there just spraying the engine blocks out of every single car, and that's gonna be the people. And your life's gonna be fucking money or no money. It doesn't matter. Every single day I go into that group chat with all of us and I go, man, these are my friends. Yeah. And we all get to just play around on the internet and we get to help people and we get to make money. And we get to have a laugh, right? Stu's out the back door, fucking C4 in the vault. He's got his shoes on his hands because the vault's wired up. And it's like, that's the crew. And it's like, that's really like, I think too, part of it is maybe this is a part 3 of the Bidness podcast is like defining success. Because that's it to me. It's like, yo, I got a group of my closest friends that we all have an impact and influence on the way people think and help other people at like a really large scale. And at the end of the day, man, if I was ever in a back alley and we had to fucking throw hands, there's no more like those me. So you, Junta, Stu, the Jameses.
Yeah.
There's no other 5 guys I'd rather have next to me to fucking throw mitts with than you guys. That's it. Yeah. That's what I value. And it's like that could be totally different, right? And it's like it's the thing we talked about a few podcasts ago. It's like, would you rather be judged by 12 or carried by 6? It's like, well, guess what? My prescript crew. It's like they can put me in the ground. That's who I want.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like if you start going down the non-generic, the second you make a compromise, you yourself are compromised.
Yeah.
Then you'll never have that. I tell you what, your business coach ain't gonna fucking lower you down there, right?
Yeah.
It's it's like a deep thought, but it's like honestly, this is the essence of business.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, like if we were use the word entrepreneur, but it's like every entrepreneurial pursuit probably started from like a sole vision of changing something.
Right.
And that's the idea. It's like if you enter the market as a person and not a corporation, you probably entered with an idea that was changing something that currently existed. So I think it's like if you pause this podcast right now, sit with yourself and go, it's like, I'm entering the market of fitness to change what? You're not going to change the back squat that exists. I don't care how many people try and do it. But you yourself, the content of your character, the character of your content, will be the change in that. And that's only going to come from knowing who you are as an individual.
Yeah, that's all right. So we'll see how this gets received, but I would imagine the Bidness podcast part 3 is upcoming. All right, so coming up, I want to put up on the website for mailing list for skill acquisition next semester.
Yeah.
We got to do the course calendar, and this is something on my list of things to do for the rest of the year because right now we are going to be entering into week 3 of Prescript Barbell. We're finishing up week 1 of skill acquisition. We're in week 9 of the level 1. Prescript weightlifting is an ongoing course. If you guys want to jump into that starts and you can do that at your own time. That's really sharp. I'm really stoked with what Junta came together. Junta and a videographer we work with, Elijah in California. I think that's it, right, as far as the course goes. So we're going to be laying out upcoming skill acquisition next semester, which if this semester was any indication, it's going to be just off the charts. Barbell, weightlifting, level 1. Level 2 is coming in March, so I know a lot of coaches have been asking me that. Level 2 is kind of next on the agenda. The level 1 manual is going to be ready. The apparel's up on the store, so head over to pre-script.com. And yeah, that'll be it for now. And if you guys like the episode, this second episode was born of the feedback of the first. So if we get more positive feedback, maybe we'll do the big business part 3, and maybe we'll dive a little bit more into like the underlying values and all that kind of shit. Because I think that in itself, as strange as it sounds, is probably one of the most compromised spaces on the internet, where people force you into these holes of like daily stoic or Marcus Aurelius meditations, and it's like just like it becomes your script. So many people, their values are scripted, and it's like that's not the point. If I see a meditations Instagram post of you recording yourself, it's like, nah, man, that's not it.
Yeah.
Right. Like do it for you. Do it your way. Right, so we'll dive into that again. If the feedback is good, if not, me and Killian will just talk about it, and we'll just do it in our own life and not share it on the internet, because that is kind of the point of what we're driving at.
I'll just go back to what I did before this.
Right.
Yelling at you.
Yeah, great. Looking forward. So that's what we're going to do now. So, guys, I appreciate everything. This is episode 201. We made it. We actually recorded this one.
We think.
Yeah, no, we recorded it.
Confirmed?
No, confirmed. Recorded. All right, guys. We'll catch you next week.